everyone. Welcome to the Jenni Carlson Show. This is our inaugural show. It's our big debut, and to be honest, words really can't express how excited I am to re-enter this space. So I'm happy to have you all along for the first of many weekly shows featuring voices from the sports world in Oklahoma and beyond. We'll have coaches and players, leaders and trendsetters, movers and shakers. And for the first show, we wanted to go big. We wanted to hear from someone making big waves in the sports scene. And for the past few weeks, nothing's made bigger waves around Oklahoma than Sellout Crowd. And frankly, it's national. This new network of sports content creators launches Friday, September 1st at selloutcrowd.com, but it's already turning lots of heads. Sellout Crowd has assembled a team that includes some of the most well-known sports journalists in Oklahoma. And the man behind Sellout Crowd, well, that's founder Mike Koehler. Or Mike, do you want to be called, I don't know, Pooh Bah or Puppet Master, or do you have a title here you want to be called?
My title lately has been the guy whose fault all of this is. So that's what I've been going by lately, and that's, some people have blamed me and some people have praised me, but at the end of the day, I did this thing, and yeah. I'm glad it's a thing.
You did a thing. Well, as everybody can see, Mike's with us today. And just a little bit of backstory. Mike was an assistant sports editor at the Oklahoman in the early 2000s, and he was one of my bosses for several years. So we've known each other for quite a long time. And because of that, I might call him K-Man. And I frankly can't remember, Mike. Is that Barry Trammell's given nickname for you, or did you bring that with you?
No, I think that's a Barryism. And I think it's been really effective lately, because I think there's like 5 or 6 Mikes involved in this project. So I'll answer to whatever, but K-Man works.
Sellout Crowd does have a high Mike quotient, I have to say. So let's talk about Sellout Crowd. We're going to take a look at the big picture and some of the small details. We're going to dig into why Koehler decided to do all this in the first place. But first, I feel like we kind of need to start here. What the heck have we done? What is this, Mike?
It's a leap of faith. It's an experiment. It's a new model for media. It's a lot of different things, and at the end of the day, it's really sort of a smash up of my 2 career paths that I've had over the past however many years, 20 years, 2 decades. And it's a way really to honor and feature and grow the idea that, sports content creators and sports journalists are like any other creators in this web economy we have. They're people with expertise and interesting things to say that audiences and brands should find valuable.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that background mashup, because you did work in sports media, you did work in sort of traditional media, but then you transitioned. So let's talk a little bit about that background. How did it lead to this creation of Sellout Crowd?
Well, sports journalism is something I've really been doing my whole life. I turned 16 and then like 2 days later covered my first ball game, and so I did that for a long time. I came to the Oklahoman in 2000, like right after you, the genaissance of the Oklahoman sports department. So Jenni came in 99, and then George Schroeder came to cover the Sooners after that. And then I came in 2000 to be the deputy sports editor. And, really we started a new era, tried to innovate. And, like Barry said, I became, I was just on the internet all the time. I became the internet guy trying to figure out what this thing was, what social media was, and really how we could integrate all of these new digital tools into what we were doing, how we're telling stories. We did a lot of cool stuff then. I eventually became the multimedia editor, so sort of spreading that philosophy over the whole newsroom. And but with the industry being what it was in 2006, 7, 8, I used it as a way to leverage my way off the ship and make a new sort of living, and started my own agency in 2010, Smirk New Media, which is still going strong, doing social media strategy, digital marketing strategy for folks. But always in the back of my mind and in my blood was like, what does this mean for journalism? What does this mean for all my friends that are are still toiling away at that. And I just saw from a digital marketing side of things that people were consuming content. People consume more content now than they ever have in the history of civilization. Advertisers were still spending money. They were still doing marketing and advertising and brand campaigns. And they were really, there was this shift towards individual content creators. All of my children want to be YouTubers when they grow up. Brands were partnering with content creators who had two things: expertise and audience. You knew what they were talking about and had an appeal to the people, that they were talking to. And so I knew that you guys had that as well. All the traditional journalists, especially in our market with the track record that you and Barry and our team have, you have expertise and you have built-in audience. But you were inside of a system that didn't really understand how to make that work for you as an individuals. For them corporately, maybe, but so that's what we did. We sort of, we went towards this model where you guys can be brands and you guys can and really speak to your audience again with some freedom, and that's where Sellout sort of grew and emerged and has become real.
So that's the seed, but getting from seed to actual plant, or whatever analogy you want to draw, not exactly easy. So who else is behind this effort? I mean, how did we actually get to this point where we're ready for launch?
Well, contrary to popular opinion, I'm not, I'm not sitting on a stack of money or anything. I'm not a self-made millionaire. I'm good at ideas, and I'm good at creating a sort of a business plan. But we needed some backers that would really help support us in that. And so from what I'm told, it happened really fast. It seemed like every day was a million years old, but we started this in earnest in December. We shopped around to different investors, and then one day, a few months ago, I went down to Belmar Golf Course in Norman and sat across the table from Toby Keith and a couple of his business partners, and told this story. And Toby, much to his credit, he's a really, everybody has a lot of opinions about Toby. I'll tell you one thing: he's a great business person. He's not just a guy singing a song. He's smart. He's surrounded by a lot of smart people. And so he decided to partner with us. So he decided to help us with this initial seed of investment and ongoing help as long as we need it. But it enabled us to recruit a great team, not just of all the talented talent, but also all the people in support of you. And since then, with their backing, it's opened doors to some great advertising partners as well. And so, I mean, that was always important for us this is going to be ad driven and supported. And the support of those people is just sort of compounding upon itself and really has gotten us where we are.
And by the way, people also know Toby Keith as a big OU fan. I think it's worth saying that he's not directing our content. And by the way, you and I, Koehler, when we were at the Oklahoman, you were there. Oklahoman was owned by the family whose name is on the stadium at OU. And I think we figured out how to cover the teams pretty equally. So,
yeah. There's editorial independence was important, but it's really, it's sort of built in there because you guys can do what you want to do. I mean, it's really a partnership between, this is not me or Mike Sherman or whomever, telling all the creators what to write. We're telling the creators, you have the freedom to do what you think is right for your brand, and you're partnering with Sellout for us to distribute that content. And so it's a new model. We can provide editorial guidance, but the freedom to write what you want to write is baked into the model.
Yeah. Well, like you said, December was kind of when things really started percolating for Sellout, but the public at large became aware of Sellout Crowd when billboards started popping up announcing Barry Trammell as a sellout. There have been more billboards, lots of other stuff since then. So let's talk a little marketing. Why has this marketing campaign done and resonated as widely as it done so well, do you think?
It's just, well, one thing, we got a lot of smart people that we're working with. Not only my team at Smirk, but Robot House Creative has created our branding and helped create all that, the billboard campaign. Casey Simonich at Peak Media helped organize that with Lamar Outdoor, who's been a great partner. There was a plan in my head, and then there was the plan that happened. And so fortunately, some of the news got out a little earlier than we wanted it to, but that enabled us to shift really quickly and pop those billboards when people were already talking about, hey, what the heck is going on? Are Barry and Jenni really leaving? And then we pop, those billboards show up the very next morning, and people are like, oh, somebody's mad at Barry, and what is going on? And what does this mean? Because, one of the brilliant things that Brian and his team at Robot House thought of was like, it's no branding. All it said to Barry Trammell is to sell out. White letters on a black background, and people freaked out. I mean, the best story is that Barry, the best story is Barry, we're all gathering together, and Barry shows us all a text that he got from his church community group about how they're encircling him in prayer because of all the attacks that are coming upon him. So that was great. The other one thing, somebody said, did Russell Westbrook pay for this? I think that was another great thing about the billboard. But that got things talking, that got people talking.
Yeah.
You guys had great, farewell columns in the Oklahoman. And then we rolled right into announcing the rest of our talent, which I don't know if that was a week ago or a year ago. Time has no more meaning for me. And then, that we've been slowly building out the social, getting people, having a place where people can get notified when we launch, and we're hours away from that actually happening. So yeah. The marketing couldn't have gone better. I mean, I really think it worked out great, and the anticipation is super high. And so we're ready to go.
Yeah, definitely. So Sellout Crowd, I mean, you know this, Mike. I mean, it's not the first all digital sports media startup. I mean, like there are big ones like The Athletic, national, like The Athletic. We've got local sites covering OU, OSU, Thunder, high school sports that are similarly, you could put them under that same all digital sports media umbrella. So what's different about Sellout Crowd's model? How is it different than those other startups?
Well, what I think is the biggest difference is we're not trying to do a paywall. I think people have paywall fatigue. I think, it's easy. To me, it doesn't ever make sense to alienate a potential reader by asking them for $1 when all they want to do is read one great story. And so that was always on our mind to not do that. Because I knew from the marketing side of things and just being in that community for a long time that advertisers were more than happy to support great content and great product. And what things like The Athletic lacked was a really great sales team, a really great local sales team. And so, The Athletic and some of these national outfits were either paywalling or selling national advertising for support. And we're, as our goal, of course, is, I'd love to, have Coca-Cola give us a $1 million ad contract or whatever. But we know that there are a lot of business owners and a lot of great brands in the state that support, that are fans of you guys, that are fans of the teams that we cover, that know that eyeballs will be next to that content. And so that's what we're, that's the business model, is that, you know, really being advertiser friendly and creative, sort of tearing down some of the old journalism rules that have handcuffed the business for a while. You know, and really being aggressive with you know, either sponsors supporting individual creators or individual types of coverage. I think that's the way to go. It just, you know, takes hustle, it takes creativity in the conversations that we have, and but it also sort of respects the reader, knowing that the audience numbers without a paywall will be convincing in the metrics that we go and get our financial support from. And then there's some other ways that, you know, some other revenue streams that we're looking at, you know, extra tiers, but tiers that people, you know, extras that people can pay for and get extra things instead of, you know, wake up on a Sunday morning and can't read Barry Trammell because, you know, they have an annoying pop-up in front of their face.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned before, time has sort of become a fluid thing in these last few days as all of this comes to fruition. Lots of moving parts for you. So I'm kind of curious about just your personal why in all this, Mike. I mean, we've known each other, but obviously people that are listening to this don't. I know that you not only started in sports media, but your legacy in media. Your dad was also in sports journalism. So is there a through line there? Kind of talk about your why a little bit in all of this.
Yeah, I'm a Nepo baby, so it's pretty bad. You know, there's Dr. Freud, I'm sure, would have a great time with this, but yeah, I just, my why is that I think the people doing this work are, you know, artist is a strong word, but you're craftspeople, you're great craftspeople with what you do. And you know, the way you tell stories, the way you connect with the public, the way you're their eyes and ears. And but I think journalism, you know, my wife is a teacher, and I think teachers and journalists are sort of get in this bucket of they what they do stands for something, and so they tolerate being treated like crap. You know, it's, you know, you're doing it for a higher cause. You're doing it for the First Amendment. You're doing it because you're loyal to readers. You're doing it because writing is a gift that you want to hone and work at and be good at. And so sometimes people in our business do that, have such a passion that they tolerate working 80 hours a week and making $40,000 a year. So, and so when I saw what the business was doing to folks, you know, people like you and Barry, especially, you know, when you're at the top of your game, you have the respect of your audience and the respect of your peers, but the structure around you is asking you to work without pay, to sort of carry the burden of 5 people's jobs instead of one. I just think that I thought that was unjust. And so, you know, I'm not just a journalism Nepo baby, but I'm a hippie baby too. So, you know, my hippie parents taught me that things should be just.
Yeah.
And so that's what this is all about. I'm not trying to make a lot of money. I'm not trying to take over the world. I'm trying to support people who are great at their jobs. And you know, that's the bottom line for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk about whether that could be a model that could go elsewhere before we finish. But one more thing, obviously, selloutcrowd.com launching September 1st. That's the sort of immediate future. Website launches, people come and see great content from a variety of content creators. But what about the longer term? What do you sort of envision? More creators, different partnerships, different content? I mean, we all know that the internet's such a fluid thing. There's probably stuff we haven't even thought of that's going to come up. But what do you foresee as that next steps for Sellout Crowd?
Well, to just talk about just talk about us here, you know, what I want this brand to be is the place where people in Oklahoma can go for the best conversations and stories about sports that are happening. Of course, that starts with all of our top tier creators, but I want other people to have voices. We're actively recruiting people who have smaller podcasts or blogs or great social media followings. There's guys, there's two guys in their garage who are talking about Sooner football who, that might be the most interesting conversation going on that day about the team. And so I'd love for those guys to have a chance to, have a bigger platform to maybe make a living off of that. I think the web has opened us up to a lot of opportunities to talk about the stuff we love, and just to have a one place where we can mix up this buffet of what you're writing, but also what a player might be talking about, what a do-it-yourself social media TikTok wizard is talking about. All of that is a great mix of voices about what's happening in this space. And the great thing about sports is, it's a legacy. Grandpa loved the Sooners. I love the Sooners. My kids are going to love the Sooners. And so we have this 100-year legacy of people who are crazy about following these stories. And we want to give them as much as they want and much as they can take from as many voices as who want to be a part of what we're doing.
Yeah, it's exciting to see sort of what kind of mix we could come up with. And obviously, this is a sports crazy state, Mike. Before we let you go, I got one more question. Mm-hmm. So it makes a lot of sense that we would do this here because we do have that passionate fan base. But could this idea scale? Could it be expanded to other markets? We're not the only sports crazy place in the world, by the way.
Yeah. I really think it can. I think part of that is the state of traditional journalism. Part of that is the passion that people continually have for this stuff. The Big 12 isn't adding 4 more teams, or the SEC isn't expanding because people are tired of following college football. People are can't get enough. And so, I've sort of tongue in cheek said that, I'm flipping distressed journalists like people flip houses. But I think every market has folks, in the newspaper business and radio, on the internet, who have some great things to say about the teams that they're covering, have great stories to tell, and an audience who wants to figure out how to get to that content easier. And so, we're looking at other markets. You have friends in the business. I have friends in the business who could use more freedom, and markets who could use a better outlet for stories. So it's something we're already talking about. Obviously, the investors are interested in something like that too. But I think, the model has to be fixed. And I think we're close to figuring it out. And I want to see how many places and how many people we can help.
It's exciting. It's exciting to know that website's going to launch on Friday. People are going to start to come in and see what we've created. And this conversation's been awesome, Mike. Thanks for your time. Thanks to you for joining us. But thanks to you out there for coming on and joining us for the inaugural Jenni Carlson Show. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, basically anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. And of course, you can find me and a bunch of other great content creators at selloutcrowd.com. And if you haven't signed up for our emails already, go to the website, do it right now. No dilly, no dally. Join the crowd, and we'll see you next week.